I read this in a website called landline.media. The title of the article is Five States Pursue Rule Changes to Accommodate Truck Tuning. So I think the 5 states, they're just highlighting these 5 states and some changes, some updates that they're making, perhaps inching us a little closer to, different levels of autonomy. So a couple states here approving, so some platooning, right, for multiple vehicles. Most of the states would require a driver in each vehicle that's involved in the platooning. However, Mississippi, one of the bills that they've introduced would actually allow for the vehicle in the platoon to not have a human driver. So I thought that was interesting, but I think ultimately the way this is going to play out, my view is that these technologies that are being developed for autonomous vehicles will help drivers out in the near term. And I'm talking about the next couple of decades. So, it'd be great if you weren't always actively required to be, maneuvering the vehicle, right? If you're in a platoon, right, that's your time where mentally you can maybe take a little bit of a break. The vehicle is doing the work for you, but you still need to have somebody piloting that vehicle, somebody responsible for it. And ultimately, it's going to have to break off from the platoon. But I just think these technologies are going to help drivers out. And that idea of a driver is just going to continue to evolve, right? It's going to be kind of like a mobile manager of the vehicle, of a platoon, So that I think it's really interesting what's happening, and it's great that states are starting to embrace it. Of course, we want that to be very incremental, so as not to introduce any unsafe things happening here.
Right, and it just goes to show you that even though technology might be super advanced, super good, if legislation has to come in there, update, like there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of laws on the books for every single state, and many of them have following distance laws and all these things. And it's like when your uphill battle is making sure that the politicians are getting on board and changing, it takes a long time. So that's not to say that if you're looking at a trucking career, go do it, right? Just keep in mind that your job as a truck driver seems like it will be evolving, right? You'll be managing trucks instead of physically driving the truck and doing every single mile. It seems like you'll be managing, 2 trucks at a time to start. But it is going to be interesting to see.
I'll tell you right now, I'd rather be the driver in the front of the platoon than the one behind. Again, as a big following distance proponent, advocate of all those best practices, I just couldn't possibly see myself being just right up against the rear end of that vehicle in front and just being like, okay, time to have a soda and relax. So I don't see myself being able to do that, but
I think Mythbusters did it like way back when, and they checked how close you have to be to experience a significant impact in MPG, and it was like 10 feet. 10 feet.
Yeah, it's really
so close. Your one semi truck has to be 10 feet away from the next semi truck in front of you going 60, 65 miles an hour. It's terrifying. Flint, what are your thoughts?
That'd be white knuckle for sure.
Look, I think it's cool. I think as we see this autonomous vehicle thing develop, that's probably one of the easiest beachheads is this platooning idea. I think about this in a little bit of a different direction though. Like, technology is cool. I think we as this kind of stuff develops, whether it's this or even like ADAS systems and, I'm going to talk about ELDs, right, which is now like kind of old tech. But I think drivers have really got to focus on adapting and learning and embracing some of this technology. I mean, I think drivers just naturally don't like technology. And as this market changes, I think that there's a really big opportunity for drivers who say, I'm going to learn this platooning truck thing, and I'm going to be really good at it, and I'm going to manage this vehicle. I think that there's actually an interesting case here for, we always talk about driver pay, a driver to differentiate themselves in the market by,
interesting.
I mean, you don't have to be a developer, but just being the guy that's like, I'll figure this stuff out.
Right. So like an open-minded perspective, right? If drivers had an open-minded perspective, but I mean, it comes back to the average age of a truck driver is in the 40s or something like that, if I remember correctly. I'll put it on the screen. But
I
so
thought
like
it was higher. I thought it was.
even higher. I think I remember it was either in the 40s, yeah, or early 50s, something like that. So and it comes back to the whole question of, like, how do we attract the younger drivers, right? It's like in order for drivers to be open-minded to this technology and, you know, possibly stand out, it's going to have to come from the younger people. And it's like, how do we attract those younger people? I don't know. It seems like the big companies don't know either, you know, because it seems like that's they're all trying to solve. But that's more or less
there's like a reason, right? There's a reason that I want to go out and be a driver. It's because I perhaps don't want to sit behind a desk and have to interface with technology.
Yeah, but my only pushback to that is like, I mean, it doesn't take a whole ton of effort to, you know, start making money online. And I know the whole make money online thing is kind of a joke at this point, but it's like, I mean, honestly, you could start some kind of you know, TikTok or YouTube channel, or I mean, Instagram Reels. Like, you start uploading some content, and like, it seems like you could make 50 grand. If the average trucker pay, like we discussed last week, was 50,000 and some change, it's like, that doesn't seem too difficult to make online at this point. So that's more or less regardless, that's more or less like the future problems. You know, these are probably some things big companies are thinking about.